The Supreme Court took on a few high-profile cases this week. One decision was to keep a controversial abortion pill on store shelves. The other strikes down a Trump-era ban on gun accessories known as bump stocks.
CBS's Scott MacFarlane joins us this afternoon. Scott, although the justices protected the rights to sell mifepristone, for now, the battle is still far from over.
What local Democrats have been telling us through the course of this week is that mifepristone is protected for now, that there may be a Republican move against it if Republicans win back the U.S. Senate, keep the House, and win the White House. And this is exactly the political terrain Democrats are seeking to fight on ahead of the elections. They want to fight over reproductive rights. They want to fight over overreaches by the U.S. Supreme Court. This ruling spares this issue for the next few months, but Democrats are keen on telling us, especially with big races coming for the Maryland Senate seat, for competitive Virginia U.S. House seats, that this is an issue worth monitoring and championing before November.
You know, Scott, gun violence is on the minds of a lot of people in this country, and particularly here in our local area where we've been hearing about these cases over and over again. So we talk about this decision, which is to lift the ban on gun bump stocks. And so I think we're wondering here, what was the reaction to that decision on Capitol Hill? And could we see Congress put a similar ban back in place in the future?
You know, what do we make of this when the Supreme Court overrules a Trump administration restriction on bump stocks? It's hard to get your head around the calculus there. Here's the bottom line. Local Senator Tim Kaine says this afternoon that this is a dangerous decision by the Supreme Court, that it liberates people to potentially misuse bump stocks for mass shootings. But what the Supreme Court has said in this opinion is that it's not the proper way to ban bump stocks, to do it by executive decree, by a regulation from the White House or the administration, that Congress has to pass a law to ban bump stocks. And that's something that local Democrats have been championing and are doing so again today. Ben Cardin of Maryland, one of the many, saying we need a bump stock ban passed into law immediately. But you're watching the same thing I'm watching. This Congress can't move on much of anything. It's so paralyzed. And there has been no movement congressionally on gun control in this Congress.
Scott, what other key court opinions do we need to look out for before the term ends?
In my calendar on my desk, I've circled next Friday with a big black Sharpie. That's the day potentially we get that January 6th Trump election interference decision on presidential immunity. You know, the case has been bottled up in the D.C. federal court since February 6th. It hasn't moved because the Supreme Court has held that case in their hands. If they allow it to move forward, it's possible that trial happens before November 5th, but I wouldn't bet the mortgage on it. Time is running short, and the Supreme Court has held this thing so long, they may have run out the clock for 2024.
All right, we'll be watching to see what happens next. We know you will, and reporting as eloquently as you always do. Scott, thank you.